So I decided to use my second melody as the example for some new accompaniment types. Looking back at it, I realise there's a couple of little quirks in this that probably need fixing. Can you see how that's an F? So the plugin isn't wrong, because you and I both know F flat and E natural are the same note. The first thing I decided to do was to change my melody to a flute and add in violin solo. The first type of accompaniment I was going to suggest to you is a drone. So I'm picking a note that's in the whole tone scale. If you find that just too boring, I suggest reusing the rhythm randomizer and coming up with an ostinato rhythm. It depends on the mood of your piece. I would think for an ostinato rhythm you'd want fairly long notes. So I could use a rhythm like that. Or I could make it even more simple and just stick to long notes. I think you need to make at least 4 selections. So I chose an 8-bar rhythm so I can get some alternatives. So, something like that might work. Here's the rhythm that the rhythm generator did. The other thing I'd suggest to you is ties. They really make a difference in making rhythms less boring. The only problem with this, it's a little bit relentlessly buzzing, although it would be improved by dynamics, but I think I'm going to put in a couple of breath. The other thing it could potentially have would be a note that's easy to play with that note, which would be an open D. It's quite nice. I'm using whole tone notes here. You could also slightly change some of these notes into other whole tone notes. It could do with a few more rests because the melody is always beginning on the first beat of each bar. And so I think it'd be nicer if the accompaniment didn't in a couple of places. And then that makes me think I should have just made it a bit rhythmically simpler. And obviously it just needs dynamic. So this is inevitably going to sound much nicer than what we had before. The next accompaniment idea would be ostinatos. And go back to my rhythm randomizer and change the settings to 2 bars, something that's just got a little bit more rhythmic action but not too much, and see if I can get an ostinato rhythm that could be nice. That one's quite nice. We could tie those two together. Here's one I made earlier that I captured to the ideas bank. My original rhythm was that, and I just put that into the score, and then I played around with notes and dynamics. And eventually I ended up with this. And then after a while of listening to it, I decided it would sound better if it started with a rest. And I could just repeat that. After a bit of fiddling around, I ended up changing the notes slightly in the second half, sort of slightly simplifying the rhythm. So now it's sort of a mixture of a bit of a drone at the beginning, a little bit of an ostinato figure. I think this was my final choice, although I think I might start that a bit late.